right. I think we're going to go ahead and get this started here shortly. AK, I know he went off to go grab some water real quick, but he should be here soon. Raised Peasant, hello, favorite broadcast crew. Oh, thank you. Nancy Boy, I say only show Ray's POV tonight. I don't know how well that would go. In reality, you could just, like, stream your own POV, Rays. And for Rays, the PBR onboard cam would be the worst POV. All right. Well, all the guys and the drivers, they have already started to do their qualifying runs. That has just begun. We're going to go ahead. Let's get this little broadcast started for you. And first, let's go over an insight into the next couple races after this weekend. Those are the next three tracks right there. So currently today is for race 7 at the Daytona Road Course. I'm Fan243, joined alongside AKDJ 2006. And it is time to really start this home stretch into the playoffs. So you can say this is where it really starts. We're at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, but we're here for a very different outlook on the Speedway. We're not racing super fast on the high banks. We're racing fairly fast, but we're taking a lot of turns and braking a lot. We're here at the Daytona Road Course. It is the sports car circuit where they run the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona every January. So that is the circuit that the Cup Series will be racing on today. And then the next three races listed there on your screen. We have Sunset Peninsula. That will be the oval configuration for race 8 next week. Then we have the Homestead Road Course, so kind of another track variation with the road course being implemented instead of the Speedway Oval. And then race 10, the last race of the regular season before we hop into the playoffs, we're back at Indianapolis. I know the track outline there, it shows Indianapolis with the Indianapolis Road Course. We will be on the actual Brickyard circuit, not on the road course for that. And so now, AK, I believe you're back.
Yes, I am.
All right, let me make sure I can hear you back on stream. All good? And yep, we're all good. See, when it's me and you, I just need to keep your settings the same, and we should be good every week moving forward.
Yeah, we should. You usually don't have to change it after week 1, or if I get a new headset or something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, something like that. It would require me to change a lot of the settings. But after we got it down, we're all good. So, AK, tonight, Daytona Road Course, really starting this first race into this stretch, home stretch to the playoffs. A lot of guys going to be looking for points. A lot of guys going to be looking for opportunities to be strong today because the next couple of races that we have lined up, Sunset could be unpredictable. We haven't raced the Cup cars officially there. Last season we raced at Sunset, but that was the last race that we raced in the Nissans, the Bob Sharp Nissans, before switching over to the Cup car. So the Cup cars have not raced on Sunset Peninsula yet, so that should be an interesting sight to see. Homestead Road Course, a favorite to some, not so favorite to others, and then Indianapolis just ran there last week, and we saw some strong showings and some weak showings. So how important is it going to be to run well tonight to set yourself up for the playoffs?
I mean, if you're on that cutoff line, and we're talking about Cart, Vision, Amoeba, all those guys, tonight's going to be very important for them, right? You need to start getting those points. Every point will matter. We'll see that cutoff line be about 1 to 2 points between getting in and getting out. Right now, the difference is Ray's at 192, who's in, Card at 189, who's out. So the two things those guys need to get is that either they need to qualify for that wild card spot, or number two, get in on points at that 8th position. So tonight and the following weeks are going to be very important for people near that cutoff line.
So here, going to go ahead start our pre-race show for you while the guys are still in the lobby qualifying. We're going to go over a couple things here. One, going to go over the point standings. What do they mean? Who is going to need to have a good running tonight? Some keys to the race. And just overall, what will it take to run well here at the Daytona Road Course? Looking there at the top 10 in the standings, we have the top 6 in the playoffs. Ray's being the first one on the cut line. He's 6th position. AK, as you said, 192. Ray's, we know, is not that well of a road course ringer, just based off of his previous performances at road courses in general. So here tonight, 2 road courses in the next 4 races, if we include tonight's race, going to be very crucial to just not get last for him. Meanwhile, Cart, he's on a charge. He's looking to have some good momentum because there's a lot of tracks coming up ahead that we know Cart is strong at.
Yeah, for sure. And we kind of get to the term road course ringers, and I would put EMC Vision near that as well. He's a guy who's good on road courses.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, he's currently qualifying 6th. Cars are still running for qualifying. So he's in that top 10. The next closest on that cutoff to him is Ray's in 9th. So that's the one that's in. He's 9th, then Cart 10th. And that's the guys that are closest to him. So right now, he's lining himself up to give him a good points boost. If he can hold that top 10 for the entirety of the race, if he can get into the top 5, fantastic. So he's going to really need to have a good run tonight. I think he, out of those 3 drivers, is going to have the best shot at it.
Yeah, very much going to have a good opportunity, a good chance to show up well. But speaking of showing up well, we're going to move now from the cutoff. Now we're going to talk about the top 3 in the standings. We talked about them a lot because those were the top 3 most dominant cars in the race at Indianapolis. It was by far RZX U5A MVP, the current point leader. JSR Blackened, formerly JSR Razor, sitting in 2nd right now, and then Tomato Drifts in 3rd. Tomato was practically 30 plus points behind last week. But then, towards the closing laps of the race, something unthinkable happens. MVP and Blackened both lag out of the race. Tomato Drifts then goes ahead and goes on to pull off great tire strategy and win the race. Now, he is only 19 points off of MVP, the first place car. Only 19 points. He went from over 30 points to 2nd place. Now he's within 19 points of the leader from last week's performance. And he's 14 points from JSR Blackened. That is going to create some interesting battles happening up front, because also they're all still battling for playoff points. And for that race, it is very much still anyone's game with how much points can become available in these final couple races. MVP leading that with 32 playoff points, JSR Black with 20, and Tomato Drifts with 18. Oh,
yeah,
sorry to get hiccups. Go ahead.
And something that's happening right now is MVP actually isn't in qualifying. So I don't know if he'll actually be at this race. So that opens up the door huge for Black and Tomato to gain a lot of ground on MVP and potentially pass him.
Now, if MVP doesn't show up tonight, if not going to be in the race tonight, that will still shake a lot of things up, because then that is going to close the point gap in general for everyone trying to get into the cutoff line area here. You know, Kart Racer we talked, Vision we talked about. Also, not too far behind is Amoeba. LMP Amoeba has definitely been running well. Amoeba's in the lobby tonight. They have been known to run well on road courses, but hasn't really had the full-time capabilities. So will Amoeba be able to show out his road course skill tonight? Not sure, but still, there's enough races left where we still need to keep him on the table. One that's going to require a miracle, though, with how far behind they are, is FLE Zeno. We know it's possible that Zeno can very much pull off a win to put him in wildcard position. But so far, he hasn't been able to do that. And so I think that's going to be his only hope, the wildcard position, if he's able to show up more often and consistently throughout the beginning couple races here leading into the stretch of the playoffs. But regardless, those are the guys that we're going to be focusing on today. The ones that are kind of in good standing, they just need to run well, I would say, is EVR Rewar and NWR Slow, formerly NWR Silent. Both of those guys, although they're not that far ahead of Ray's Peasant on the cut line, Rewar only 5 points ahead, they still are averaging, especially NWR Slow, they're averaging better finishes than Ray's. Both of them. So, since they're averaging better finishes, in reality, they need to just remain consistent, and they could find themselves participating for the championship come a couple weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, Slow, out of all the playoff drivers currently, has the best average position at 5.6. So he's been being very consistent where he's placing. So as long as they can continue that consistency of those top 10s, top 5s, then they really shouldn't be too worried, unless, of course, they have a bad race or if they miss a race, etc., etc. As long as they can keep consistent with those finishing positions, then they should be fine. Another thing to look at is if you look at all of our playoff drivers and playoff drivers or cutoff drivers near that cutoff line, majority of them are good or at least decent on both road courses and ovals. We're starting to see that transition now. Drivers have to be good at both ovals and road courses to be able to get into the playoffs. You can't just be good at road courses. You can't just be good at ovals anymore. You have to be good at both.
Very much so. You have to be good at both. We try to make balanced schedules here at XRS. Obviously, we don't want it to be oval every week. Although that is how it used to be way back in the day. Way back in the day when XRS was under a different name, PPRL, we would be running quite literally 10, 12 race seasons, and they would just be back on FM7, Daytona, Indy, and Homestead on a 3-race repeat. It took a while for us to even implement Watkins Glen and Sonoma, 2 road courses that the Cup Series went to in real life. It took us a while to even implement those tracks. But now we're utilizing road course variations of different speedways. We're going to Mid-Ohio, Road America, still continuing going to Watkins Glen. And the diversity is really showing in terms of how well of a driver you have to be. You need to be well equipped to be able to go ahead, go out there, and perform well on the road courses. But then you also need to perform well on the speedways as well. And you can't necessarily only rely on that. So that will be definitely something that you need to have as a driver competing for a championship here. Now, let's focus on this race more specifically. On this race, some of the keys for tonight. There are many opportunities for you to mess up on this track, but there are not many opportunities for you to pass on this track. So you definitely want to make as little mistakes as possible while also seizing every passing opportunity that you can get. Because in reality, there's only, I would say, there's comfortably maybe 3-4 passing opportunities at this track, which is not a lot compared to some other road courses that we go to.
No, yeah, a lot of other road courses that we go to have a lot of passing opportunities. This one, because it uses part of the super speedway as the course, unless you get a good exit on that super speedway or into the super speedway, you're not going to get a good chance to pass there. So really, in the actual road course sections is your only good opportunities to get a pass.
Yeah, one area where it's high risk, high reward, turn 1 of this track, because if we actually, I'm going to go back to the... Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I deleted that. Never mind. So, the layout of this circuit utilizes both the speedway banking, but it's not going to utilize the full straightaways. On the front stretch, you are going from the Le Mans chicane on the backstretch, and you're not going to have another turn until turn 1, all the way past the front straightaway. So you're going a good portion around this track, going into a heavy braking zone in turn 1, and that's where it's high risk, high reward. Reason why it's so high risk, if you want to try and outbrake the guy in front of you, they're also going to be braking late into that corner anyway. So it's going to be a huge grip opportunity. You need to make sure that you do not slip up those tires, and you can very easily go off track in turn 1. That is going to be Calamity Corner, turn 1. But if you're able to get through, you are able to easily defend your positions for around the next 2-3 corners before another passing opportunity arises, that being... I want to say that is turn 5. That is the next passing opportunity that a lot of drivers will have.
Another spot I would highlight as well is that chicane. It is very, very risky to go too wide there, but if you have the confidence and have the speed to do it on entrance, you can get it done, because if you dive that inside, when you exit, you'll be inside of turn 3-4 of the super speedway. So you will have a bit of an advantage if you can make the pass work there at the beginning of the chicane. So it'll be very interesting to see where drivers take opportunities and take risks to get a position, or even 2 at some points, just to get an extra point or 2.
Yep, and the backstretch chicane, any chicane that you go to at any track can be risky, but Daytona especially a risky one, because once again, it's a long accelerating zone, because once you get merged from the road course section heading into speedway turn 1, basically, you are flat out all the way until more than halfway down the backstretch. And that's when you go ahead and you need to get into heavy braking, go side by side into that area. So it is going to be a sight to see for sure when we get into that area, for especially the first couple laps, because the field is going to be more grouped up together. And with that, do we think we're going to see cautions? Or are we going to see a caution-free race, as we've seen the past couple times? Indy wasn't quite caution-free, but did not have cautions that we were expecting. Like, it only had two incidents that would have caused a yellow. One of them was an actual yellow. The other one couldn't be called because of intervals. So it's like, I don't know at this point if we're going to see a lot of cautions or not a lot of cautions.
I think how it's really going to go is it's going to be another kind of like Indy. If we get one caution, I believe we will see a couple more, because again, when you're kind of all bunched up together and you're coming off these high-speed corners, all one person has to do is brake slightly later than the person in front of them, and suddenly we have a stack up. So I think off the start is our most likely point to see them. However, if we get a one-off caution, let's say in the chicane, 2 cars have hit each other, one of them has damage, blah, 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 that could breed another caution after that, and another caution after that. So it could really go either way here tonight. We could see a couple of cautions in rapid succession, or we could see a completely green run race. Again, with these road courses, you're more likely to see a green run for the entire way through. So drivers have to kind of put their strategy into two different areas. One, do I want to make a strategy in the off chance that we do get a lot of cautions? Or two, do I want to make a strategy in the off chance we run green flag all the way through? So we're really going to get to see how pit strategy will play a role, like it did in Indianapolis.
All right, now they are commencing the launch countdown now to load everyone in the game on track. Now, we will see before we switch over to the actual race screen, because sometimes it might take us a couple attempts, but hopefully Cart, I think he started up a new lobby from qualifying, just so then he can try to make sure that very little glitches occur. But even then, you still never know.
Love turn 10.
Now, the very last thing that I'll say is very crucial for tonight, managing tires. It takes a long time to get around this track. Okay? AK, what were some of the average lap times that you saw guys running?
Unfortunately, I couldn't grab their average lap times thanks to Forza's display. Okay. But from what I've seen, from what I saw, at least before the end, when I looked up, Devin was going to be our pole leader for tonight. Blacken, who's obviously in that conversation for the top three and gunning for MVP spot now that he's not here for tonight, is in second. Third is Tomato, who was, again, another one of the drivers gunning for MVP spot. So it's an interesting top three that has a lot of storylines to it.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so here the drivers are going to just be lining up one by one. I believe that means then we shouldn't have any glitches, hopefully.
Yeah. I believe we are good. I'm not hearing anything. They're going through their orders so everyone knows who's where. But I don't believe we're actually going to have server restart tonight.
Hopefully. There we go. Now they're starting to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here through this section, turn one, then you run into a quick little, I don't know, a quick little suggestion. Not really a turn, that you really go straight through that. But then here, diving into really the second turn of the racetrack. It's a tight corner. You have a late apex, and you can go wide on the throttle right after you hit that exit curbing. And here, this is a high-speed... This is a high-speed left-hander here that these guys are going to go through. Not very wise to go too wide through that, if you end up going too wide throughout the race. But here, this is going to be a good passing opportunity. But if you mess up here, it will lead to disaster, because now you're going to lose even more positions heading into this heavy braking zone. Turn 5. And this is where, if you mess up here, you're pretty much messed up for half a lap until you reach the chicane.
Yeah, through that first section, corners 1 through 5, you really have to be fluent. If you're not going to be fluent and put it all together, you're going to be slow through that first section, which is really going to harm you because, again, that's really, besides the chicane down the back straight, that's really the only road course part to that. So if you mess that up, then you're going to have a bad lap, and you're going to lose a lot of time through there. So you have to be really fluent, put it all together in one nice neat bow. Or again, you're gonna lose spots, you're gonna be slow, and you're gonna have a miserable time today.
So it's going to be Devin and Blacken leading the front row to green tonight. Row 2, we have, that's LMP Amoeba and Tomato Drifts. Going to be looking at the close point battle happening there. Row behind, that's where we see NWR Slow and Vision. And for the sake of doubling up here on the pace lap, the field is going through that chicane. But when we do get going to green, you will need to take that chicane, obviously. Here, a little bit of a different situation than what we'll typically see at Daytona. Typically ready to go 200 miles an hour, high speed, high drafting stakes and opportunities. Here, still a lot of drafting involved, still a decent amount of speed, but we will be going both left and right for tonight. On the banks of Daytona, VR Devin and JSR Blacken lead the field to green at Daytona. We're green.
Devin with a good jump off that restart. Already you're seeing those cars get jumbled up. A lot of already 3 wide through that first corner. Cars coming through. Oh, one car around the back. Number 77, I believe it was.
No, that was Rewar in the 17.
Caution is going to be called that line.
Caution called at the line. Still calamity happening there, but an early caution will be called. And we still need to race it all the way back around. So still going to be plenty of passing opportunities racing back to the yellow flag.
Right now it's a game. The first corner, like we said, it is going to be a game of how far can you push it or how far are you willing to push it. A lot of cars that were pushing maybe a little too hard into that first corner, which caused that caution.
Blue streak a little wide, going to lose some spots there. Meanwhile, Flag, Kart Racer, and Ray is going to make their way through. Tomato Drifts able to get a pass done on Amoeba earlier.
Again, Kart Racer and Ray, the 2 guys we were talking about who are on that cutoff line. So they really needed to avoid that wreck to be able to. Now, again.
And there, Amoeba gets a pass done. Hold on. Amoeba gets a pass done there on the chicane. Tomato went slow, and that's what can happen. If you end up running slow, he might lose another position to NWR slow, heading to the caution.
Yeah, and like we said, you needed to have an exit on those chicanes to be able to get 4 turns 3 and 4 and the front stretch of the super speedway. So that's one of the consequences for, again, like you said, going slow through there and not getting a good exit. I mean, a slow got a much better exit and we're able to gain a spot there before the caution.
And there we go. Caution is now out. Josh Kurz is now DNF'd from the session.
Yeah, I believe he said to race control he was going to be pretty much a starting park for tonight, just get those points because again, as long as he ran 1 lap, he was going to be able to get those last place points.
Yep, so he has secured pretty much 14th place points for tonight.
Again, like I said right before we started there, like I said, if we get a caution off the start, we could see a lot more cautions because of it. Because again, these guys are all stacked up, and like we said, it's really how deep are you willing to go in turn 1. A lot of those drivers, especially farther back, were wanting to get in position or 2. Took it maybe a little harder than what they should have. Going a lot of cars 3, even 4 wide for moments there, which eventually was the cause of that, and unfortunately, Rewar was the victim of it all.
Someone who definitely took advantages and opportunities there through the commotion in turn 1, EMC Vision. EMC Vision, he was back in the 3rd row, but now he's just going to be in the 2nd row in 3rd place. Going to be right on the tail of Devin and Blackend on the restart. So definitely he's going to be hungry, looking for some points.
Yeah, and he's one of the guys that we thought would do well here. What we call, again, road course ringer is a term that you'll hear a lot from us. He's really good at these road courses, so I am expecting him to have a good finish here tonight. And as well as the guy next to him, Amoeba. Another guy that should be good at these road courses, another guy who's needing a couple of those points.
Yeah, and pretty much if you haven't figured it out already, every single time we will be pacing, we will be skipping the backstretch chicane. Why? Because it goes a little faster, and it takes a long time to get around this speedway.
We'd be here for another 30 seconds if we had to go through the chicane.
Hey, but 30 seconds every single time we pace is good.
Well, an extra 30 seconds, not 30 seconds. Probably someone would actually bump into someone else.
Here we go. Devin and Blacken, they will lead the field to green again. And there we go. Green flag back out. We're back to racing in Daytona.
Amoeba and EMC already looking at the lead. EMC on the inside, can't quite finish it. A lot of cars, one car going a little wide. There was a blue one, didn't catch the number or the name,
That was
unfortunately.
Rays. Yep, Rays went a tiny bit off course. Still able to recover well. Blacken going for a look there on the inside. The Devon not able to get it done. Meanwhile, Vision going to go through 3 wide in the middle.
Vision with a great move there. He's seen that Blacken overcooked it, was able to cross him over on the inside and gain that position right back. Blacken tried to, I think he lost another spot to Amoeba because of it.
Great job by Vision there, being able to take advantage of them going slow. Making a little mistake, and that's why we said on the pre-race show, make as little mistakes as possible, because you make a mistake at Daytona, it's going to be a big one.
I mean, a good example is raised off the first. Again, he was inside almost the top 8, and he lost 7 positions off the restart because he went a little wide into turn 1. But one small mistake can compound into a lot here.
Braking zone, the Le Mans chicane, another place where some guys can make up a lot of spots, a lot of opportunities. There, LMP Amoeba going to give Blacken a piece of his mind, trying to charge through the field there. Amoeba is able to get the pass done, but Blacken still holding strong to his outside.
Well, Amoeba actually had that spot, but he had to check up a lot for Vision because the Vision went slightly slower on that entry. And Amoeba almost ran to the back of him and almost lost as well coming over the chicane, but was able to catch it himself and keep it straight.
Still holding it side by side through there. We're going to ride on board with Blacken.
Right now, a huge battle for these guys. Every single one of these guys needs points, either to become the leader of the playoffs for the time being, or to actually get inside the playoffs. So every position for these 3 guys counts. Oh! Vision got into the grass a little bit, lost him some time. Now Amoeba's to his outside. Now they're going to be pretty much side by side, potentially for all of this straight. Still starting to spread out a bit. Not too much, not like we saw at Indy. Now Amoeba's going to look to the inside of BMC Vision, coming into the chicane, exactly what we thought he might do.
Hard into the brakes!
He is going to be able to get it. Will he get a good exit though for it? It looks like he will, and he'll secure second for the time.
He definitely will, and now that's going to lead this string of cars. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th are kind of in line with each other here. All within each other's draft, just not directly side by side. Vision going to the outside, going to try and outbrake and go hard into the apex.
Not quite going to be able to get it. He'll have slightly better exit though.
He did get a little loose through that. They're side by side heading into turn 2.
Because all this is happening now, everyone else, all the way from 2nd through to 7th, are all here. More cars slowly catching up because of all this fighting.
Here, Tomato riding on board with him, a couple cars back. He's seeing all this happen in front of him, and there's a lot happening right now. Amoeba and Vision trying to battle. Blackened waiting if anything happens. Meanwhile, NWR Slow catching up to Blackened. And Tomato and EVR Rewar in line if anything happens as well. Slow, a little bit sideways, able to save it.
One person looking in his mirror right now and loving this is Devin. Devin's looking at all this fighting. They're going to lose time if they continue it up. Still side by side is Vision and Amoeba, however, with Blackened just in the background there. Oh!
Heading into the chicane again. These guys are really braking late in that chicane.
They're leaving a very minimal margin for error right now. Couple taps of the left corner panel by Vision into Amoeba into that exit. Was a little worried that they would spin out there, but they did. Back behind them in 5th place. Slow and Tomato now side by side for that 5th position.
Great battle happening between all these guys here. Tomato a little wide on that apex. Amoeba goes off! He saves it, he keeps it straight, but now he's going to lose a couple positions.
Amoeba just overcooked just a little bit, trying to get that little bit more of turn number 1, and he lost so many positions to that 4 positions just off that one corner because of one small mistake. Like we said, one small mistake here can compound into a big one.
And now that leaves Vision on the hunt with Blackened ahead of him. NWR Slow making up some time as well. Tomato recovering nicely from going off a little bit. And then back behind him is Amoeba. Went from battling pretty much for 2nd place to now 5th.
Yeah,
sorry,
and
6th.
think about all these drivers, again, every single one of these drivers needs points right now. Some of them are inside that playoff bubble, but need to either catch up to that first, guy in first, or gain themselves a bit of a break between that cutoff. Some of these guys are outside of that cutoff, but need a couple points to get in this cutoff. So 2nd through 5th, or 2nd through 6th, really need these. Every person needs these extra positions to get these extra points for themselves.
Now, I think from that little excursion there, Blackened is able to scoot away. Vision not able to keep close with him. So unless they make a mistake, they're going to start pulling away and be in line with each other. Meanwhile, battle happening behind them with NWR Slow and Tomato drifts. Tomato going to look to the outside at the tri-oval.
Again, these are 2 guys that are inside the playoff bubble. I've overcooked them a little bit, giving Amoeba a little bit of an opportunity. So now Amoeba's going to get inside this battle now, so that's coming a 3-car battle for this position.
Gave a bumper a little bit, almost looked like.
I mean, it's a strategy, especially going into that corner, because you're going down from such a higher speed to a slower speed, you can make those back wheels spin with a little bit of a bump to someone. Now, some drivers may not like that, but that is an option.
Now you're starting to hear the tires. They're sliding a lot. AK, if you want, you can go ahead and look at those tire wears. Because managing tires, that was something else that we briefly touched on in the pre-race show. You need to be able to manage your tires really well, because it's really only going to be about 1 or 2 pit stops you're going to be making in tonight's race. Actually, sorry, no, a little more than that.
Just from the first glance, it doesn't look like these tires are too bad yet. They should have about another 5 laps on them, give or take, to be able to be where they can. Still use them without losing too much time, if any. So in the next probably 5-ish laps, we'll start seeing people start to come down pit road here.
Regardless, it's going to be interesting to see how well the tire management is amongst all of those people who are battling for position lap after lap, compared to someone like Devin and now Blackened, who have pretty much pulled away from the rest of the guys battling.
Well, those guys battling now as they enter turn number 1. It is Slow and Tomato side by side very momentarily. Slow's going to have a worse exit. Tomato's going to cross him back over, but gets tapped by Slow. That's going to cost him a position, and he's going to be able to pass Tomato there now.
Amoeba now making back up ground. But that separated them just a little bit. And now one who's starting to close that gap is DMC Vision. He's closing the gap on Blackened. I thought Blackened was going to start to scoot away, but no, Vision, he's starting to fight back. Almost got to his bumper there.
Yeah, Miba's really pushing these corners, testing how light he gets breaking down. But because of how far he pushed into that corner, he got a lot worse exit compared to Black. So Black's going to get away a little bit here, but the draft should help Vision just a bit. Both cars really pushing there. Vision gets all 4 tires into the grass a bit there, so he will be a little slower off that exit. But again, he's close enough for this draft to be able to pull him in coming into turn number 1. Nope.
Oh.
That's never a good sign.
That usually never means anything good. Let's see. No! Tomato DNF'd!
That's huge for the playoffs. Again, that guy, Tomato was 3rd place, and now Blacken's wide open to be able to claim that first spot if he can have a good finish here tonight, which right now he is.
Wow.
Now guys like Rewer and Slow need to get those points to try and claw towards Tomato. So Vision right now needs to really push himself to try and get that second spot from Blacken. He may not be able to pass Tomato tonight, but he will be able to make that gap a lot closer.
Managing points, managing your opportunities. Tomato lagging out, that definitely just began a huge opportunity for a couple of guys trying to look up and make up a lot of those points. Wow, the one who didn't lagged out last week is the one who lagged out this week.
I guess it's kind of evening the playing field out a little bit. But
Man,
now a guy
Vision is really pushing him.
Oh yeah, he's trying to get everything he can out of that car. Excuse me. The only downside is it means he's going to cook his tires a lot more than what Devin and Black and even Sloan and Meadler are going to be doing.
Yeah, now that definitely is going to slow down the battle there. Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of Slow, who's currently in a battle with Amoeba, he's going to be the guy that's going to be able to capitalize a lot off of Tomato's disconnection there. Again, a guy who was just behind him by only a handful of points. He's going to be able to catch that, make that gap a little smaller to potentially get another spot after tonight. It won't be a lot, but it'll be making it so it's a lot more manageable to get to that position.
And one driver who is not liking their position right now, I can tell you, is Ray's Peasant in 10th position right now. He was the first driver in. Yeah, the one who's chasing him is 4 spots ahead of him in 6th place, Kart Racer. So right now, Ray's definitely should not be liking his position.
Well, vice versa to that, I know Kart is, because if he can hold his position, he should be able to gain that final spot in. It won't be a huge difference between the two of them. However, he'll be in, so he'll be slightly more comfortable heading to the next couple races. Ray's had that early mistake, and unfortunately hasn't been able to gain any ton of positions since then. Again, right off the start, went a little wide into turn number 1 and lost 7 positions. He's only gained 4 of those spots back, 2 of which because unfortunately people had departed for tonight or lost connection.
Here we're seeing Blue Streak. We know Blue Streak was fairly fast, and Yo Soy Jeremy. Yo Soy Jeremy. I tried to say it differently.
Ray's coming down the pit road, so he will be the first person to come down tonight. I think he's trying to undercut the field. He's so far back, he needs to do something to be able to get his way back into position, get a couple positions. So he looks like he's going to try and undercut everyone right now. We are at about that 5-lap mark that I thought people would be coming in at. So we'll start seeing cars coming down pit lane.
Maybe we will, or maybe it'll take a couple laps.
Right now, this first through fifth, all still fairly close together. A lot closer than what I was expecting. So they are all still in position where if first place comes down, you may see second, third, fourth, and fifth all following through to try and stay on with him on tire-wise.
Currently last place, Stancy Boy, returning from a penalty that he had a couple weeks ago. He still technically had a penalty today. I believe it was just either a last place start or a drive-through. Actually, no, it was last place start. So
right now,
Ray's pitting allowed him to try and have someone to fight and get up towards, but there we go. There we go. Devin goes into pit road, up at the front of the field.
Yeah, we'll see who else comes down with him from the top five. Doesn't look like anyone else is going to go through. So everyone's going to try and extend their tires just a bit more. As Amoeba's going to set it on the outside of turn one, trying to get that position from Vision. Slow's going to be there as well. I think Slow denied Amoeba from getting that crossover, trying to get the better exit out of one.
So now, very interesting that Devin went into pit road, but then no one else decided to follow.
It is interesting, but again, when you have this position, the pit lane here is fairly long compared to some of the tracks we go to. Examples, obviously, like Homestead. So it's a little longer to actually get back out. Now, the difference between here and our super speedway is you don't have to stay below the white line or the double yellow line anymore because it has its own pit exit. So it becomes a lot longer while you're inside the pit exit, which means they might be trying to gain a little bit of time while he's inside that pit.
Because, true, that dropped him all the way back to pretty much 30 seconds behind the new leader being blackened. So definitely a lot of time you will lose going into pit road.
Yeah, now it wouldn't shock me to see second through fourth all come in here this lap and maybe even Blacken as well. If Blacken goes in, I would almost guarantee that at least another guy from these top four cars will come in. It looks like they're trying to extend their tires another lap.
Yeah, and you would expect all of these guys behind Devin, as Rewar and Flag now going to pit road, you would expect all these drivers who are behind them to really going to pit road way before Devin, because Devin wasn't battling at the start of the race. He was cruising and pulling away with a good lead, obviously not big enough to avoid being passed on pit road under green, but everyone else, you would think that they would be using way more of their tires.
And what could be the factor here is they're just on different tire compounds to start out. Again, drivers have that choice now between what tire compound they want. So maybe Devin started on the mediums to be a little faster and everyone else is on hards. We don't quite know what they're on, and of course there's no way for us to be able to tell what kind of compound they're on. However, that could definitely be the case here, is a difference of compounds.
Definitely could be seeing a difference there. And the hard tire, I know a lot of drivers tend to not run the hard tire. So it could be a little bit of the opposite of what we're saying here. Maybe Devin might have been on the softer tire compound, the soft tires, while everyone else is on the mediums.
Well, just comparing it to Indianapolis, I know obviously the winner of last week, being Tomato, said that he actually did use those hard compounds just to make sure that his car would last longer. So it could be what we're seeing here. Again, like I said, there's unfortunately no way for us to tell. Again, all the tires look exactly the same.
We should be able to look at
Oh,
that.
I don't disagree with you.
But turn 10.
Low and wide. into turn number 1, so that gives Amoeba now an opening and leaves Vision to take second place.
They're still side by side into turn 2 area. Slow definitely with a better exit. That's going to give him the position. Kart Racer and Blue Streak into pit road now.
Yeah,
And
now everyone pretty much besides these top 4 have at this point already gone in the first stop of the night. It'll be interesting to see when these guys actually come in.
it will be.
Again, will be interesting to see when these top 4 will come in. I'd imagine in the next handful of laps, even maybe this lap, because I know their tires are starting to get down to just above that 50% threshold. So they're going to start losing time here shortly.
Definitely, and you need to be careful when you elect to go into pit road or not, because when you go into pit road, if you decide not to go into pit, which Amoeba this time decides he will, when you elect not to pit, like we said, it takes a little bit to get around this speedway. See if we can pull up the driver data for you. Yeah, it takes 1 minute 42 seconds roughly to get around this racetrack. And when it takes that long to get around that track, it is really going to create a situation that you're going to lose grip half a lap into your outlap, and you're going to lose way more time if you had just elected to go into pit road.
Yeah, with pit road being so long, your exit is just before turn number 2. So you go from the beginning of the tri-oval all the way to turn number 2. You're going to be in there for a solid 25, 35 seconds, depending on how fast your pit is. That's a lot of time. The inside pit going a lot slower than everyone else on the field. Amoeba pitted, and Devin was able to pass him. Remember what he said? He was 36, 40 seconds back. So he was able to gain back all that time past Devin and gain another 6 seconds off. Will be interesting to see if the top 3 now will go into pit.
Because now you see the top 3, they're all separated. They're no longer close to each other because all of them are starting to lose grip.
Yeah, and all of them are really losing grip. And now by going this long, now we start to think about fuel. So are they going to go until the fuel becomes low? And if so, do they know what the percentage is that they can run one of these laps? Because like we said, this is a long course where you can be at even 7% left, and you're going to be cutting it close here.
Yeah. But now, this far into the run, I'm convinced that these guys probably are all on the hard tire. Because we're now what, around 5 laps more than what the window you said most of these guys were going to go to pit anyway?
Yeah, about 5-6 laps more than what I was thinking they were going to be in. I thought they would be on in a lap about 12-ish. We're about to be on lap number 18, so we're almost 6 laps farther than what I was thinking they were going to go. So it wouldn't shock me if they are using the hards, which is, again, a good strategy to be able to extend the race. They're almost to go halfway on, if these are on the hard tires, they're almost able to go halfway on these tires. I reckon they are starting to lose time now compared to people who have already pitted. But they were able to extend their tires all the way to the halfway mark.
And it looks like still again, except Vision. So the top two stay out another lap while Vision now goes to pit road.
That's something to start watching, is that fuel level. They're going to be getting close on fuel here.
Blacken got really loose.
Yeah, it's going to open up the door for Slowdown to make a pass on turn number 1. Blacken's going to try and cross over. Not going to be able to get it as he gets loose off turn number 2.
You can definitely tell he's losing a lot of grip. He's slipping way more.
Losing a lot of grip, but now, again, like I said, it comes to the question of fuel. How longer can you go on fuel, or how much longer do you want to go on your tires?
Well, if I were these two, I would have pitted 5 laps ago. So, at this point, I don't know when these guys are electing to go into pit road. You have to imagine that Blackend has to go in this time, because he is getting really loose, and he's already lost like 4 seconds back to Devin.
Yeah, and with these guys losing time, Devin's now going to have that much bigger of a lead compared to what they would have been had they pit, let's say, a lap or 2 ago. So now all that time that they gained just gone out the door.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised that none of them decided to go in immediately the lap after Devin went into pit road, or in reality, the lap that Devin went in. He was so far ahead that you can see, hey, Devin went into pit road. So I'm shocked that these guys waited this long. Finally, these guys go into pit road this time.
Yeah, right now, Devin, who's, again, the car behind them in 3rd place, has just left the chicane. Watch how quickly he's going to be able to catch up to these guys. Watch how much of a lead he's going to be able to get on these guys. I'm going to say he's going to be able to get about 10 to 16 seconds worth of a lead over them by the time they finally exit pit lane.
By the time they exit pit lane, for sure, I would even say that he might be getting closer to a 20-second lead. Let's see here. Because now they've officially serviced their car, but they still need to circle all the way around that wall.
We're at 6.
They're still in pit road,
8. 9.
Pretty much, we'll call it 10.
Yeah,
Because now Blacken's out of pit lane. And now, before they're able to really race at speed, now they're at about 15 seconds almost. So, huge lead now that Devin has gained on them. But meanwhile, not as big as a lead as he had over Amoeba. Amoeba, an 8.8 second lead. Amoeba is on a fresher tire stop from Devin. So, in reference, this is where really Slow and Blackened could have been if they elected to pit with Amoeba. Even Vision, who pitted just around a lap or 2 prior to Slow and Blackened, they're still ahead of him.
Yeah, and that's just how much time you can lose when you don't have great tires. They lost about 8.5 seconds to Amoeba, who again was right with these guys. So in 1 lap, the difference in 1 lap was 8.5 seconds. That's huge. Yeah, just hearing over the radio channels right now, they were in fact on hards.
Yeah, with as long as they went, it was pretty obvious that yes, they had to have been on the hard tire.
Yeah, and again, that's a strategy, because if they went back on hards, we don't know what they're on right now. But if they went back-to-back hards and they extended as long as they did, that means they only have to do 2 stops.
Or in reality, they're actually, if they were able to make it that far before needing to go into pit road, that in reality just made it to where it's a 1-stop race for them. They really don't need to get serviced again if they're back on the hard tires.
Yeah, sorry, I had that backwards.
Yeah, you're good.
The mediums will need to be able to do 2 stops. So if you went mediums all the way through, you will be doing at least 2 stops, maybe 3 depending if you get in a wreck and get sideways, or how hard you're pushing your tires. But realistically, anyone who went double hard only has to do 1, while people who went on mediums should should have to do only 2. That's huge. Again, like we said, this is about a 28, 36-second pit stop. That's a total almost that's over a minute that you're spending less in the pits. Because to get back up to speed, to get into pits, and to do the pits, that's going to be about a minute.
Hey, someone who wasn't in good position earlier, but now is in relatively okay position now. Look at Kart Racer and Rays. Rays was further back. Kart Racer was a position ahead. Now, they're both 7th and 8th. Between those 2 spots, it's only a 1-point gain for Kart on a 3-point cut line that he's going to gain on Rays if they stay where they run right now.
Yeah, and I know Ray wants to even pass her to make sure that he's gaining the 1 point. Because again, like we said, every single point will count from the count. It's like we said, right now it's only a 3-point difference. That's not a lot in the grand scheme of our point system. Yes, down here it's 1 point. But let's say later on in the race, or later on in the season, Hart happens to get, let's say, a top 3. That's a lot more points going his way. So 1 point for Racer could mean the difference between getting in and not being in the playoffs.
He's actually going to provide a good fight. They're going to be side by side. Fast left-hander here. He's actually able to take charge and raise past his Kart. Meanwhile,
yeah,
Kart dealing with pressure from Flag.
I definitely heard Kart back out of that because that is a very risky place to try and make a pass. So it becomes how much do you want at that point, and obviously Kart not wanting to wreck and lose more time or go off track and lose even more time, decided he was going to back out of it. So again, a smart move, I'd say, by Kart there to just back out of it. You have a lot of racing left. You're still right next to him even if you do back out of it. So there's going to be a lot more opportunities to pass.
Still a long race up ahead, though. More chance, more opportunity. Kart to rally back. He did make a small mistake in that chicane, and that's going to allow Flag to really try and contest with him. But that's, more importantly, it's going to allow Rays to pull away a little bit.
Yeah, and again, he needs to either, these two, if they want to catch Rays even better, they need to work together on these corners in the super speedway. As we enter turn number 1, contact between the 2 of them. Kurt's going to go now wide, and Flag's going to be able to get that position without any troubles.
Well,
so much for working together.
So now, Kart falls back to 9th. He's going to be about 2.5, 2 seconds.
Yeah, about almost a second and a half. But Rays actually went wide off of turn number 2, so that opened the door to Flag to give him a little bit of a competition there.
And Rays ran wide. That allows Flag to really get a good run and go through.
The Flag just in that section, because he ran it so much more smoother, put together so much better than what Rays and Kart did. He was able to gain those 2 spots, but Rays is now going to try and send it on the inside of the chicane. Flag's going to get the arc and outbreak him though.
Yep, Rays kind of thought second of that move. He did not get as good as an exit as he thought he would have. So now that's going to allow Flag to gain a little bit more of a gap.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, if you really need to put together that first section. And when I'm talking about first section is turns 1 through 5. If you can put that all together, you'll be fantastic for the lap. Rays and Kart both went wide at least once at one point through turns 1 through 5 and lost a lot of time. And Flag was just able to put together and get both those positions in that section.
Now Kart going to be closing that gap, going to get to the inside of Rays. Now they're going to be side by side. Only for a brief moment, Cart able to get the pass done.
Yeah, Race just got loose off of turn number 1 there, or turn number 2, sorry, and was able to make that pass without too much trouble. Which again makes me wonder if Ray's, because he undercut everyone, he's kind of approaching his time, but also he's a little early. So I wonder if he took a soft compound or has been pushing medium tires really hard to try and gain those spots back, and now he's really loose for it.
Now, the only thing that will make this a little bit more interesting than it already has been is if we get another caution. But right now, no one in the field is relatively even close to each other to even spark an incident that could lead to one as of right now. Excuse me. As of right now. Because if we get a caution now, we're right in the middle of people having different pit strategies. Some who are running the medium tires, they're going to need to go into pit road within these next handful of laps. Meanwhile, if they ran the hard tires and run into another hard tire, meanwhile, Rays goes into pit road, like I said, that is then going to lead into people having mixed strategies. You're going to regroup the entire field. Everyone might go into pit road. You never know towards the end of the race. And it's really going to make it to where this race is going to be solely about not making a mistake for the rest of the night. Because everyone is really looking for points.
Yeah, everyone's definitely looking for points. But if a caution does come out, and we do get to that point where, again, it's not going to be so vital if we get a caution at this point in the race. The driver, I think, at this current moment, if the grid was to say how it is for the next caution, if there is one, the drivers I think would benefit the most actually aren't the front runners. I think Slow and Blacken would have the best shot because if I were them, I'd base my strategy off the people in front of me. If they're going to go in and maybe get mediums or some other kind of tire compound to get fresh tires, you can base it off those guys in front of you because you have enough time where even if they fake it, you can fake back out without any problems. And you're going to be able to jump onto whatever strategy the leaders ahead of you are going to be able to do.
So Devin, so far this race, has really done a good job, a great job. Staying out of the mess of turn 1 early on allowed him to really just pull away, and now he's been cruising for most of this race. He hasn't really needed to hold off anyone or the battle, and has really ran himself well to be ahead off of the pit strategy. And this could lead to a very easy win for him. Question is, what will that do to then the point standings? Because Devin is back in 13th in the points. He's back in 13th, and he has 94 points. A win today will give him that plus 50, plus the playoff points, and will give him, obviously, the win. Now, that puts him in a position that if he consistently shows up and gets himself inside, I believe you just need to be inside the top 10 or the top 12. I would need to double check on that. And now he's in wild card territory for the playoffs.
Yeah, which again, I think the showing here tonight would prove that that would be huge for the other playoff drivers, that if he gets in, he's not going to be just like, he barely made it in, it's not going to be too serious, he'll probably be a first-round exit. No, he's been so dominant here tonight that he would be a legitimate threat to even the top runners like MVP, like Tomato, like Blacken. He would be a threat that he could take the entire thing if they allow him to get in to that wild card spot.
And I did just double check on that. The wild card threshold is indeed the top 12 in the points. So him being 13th, he wins tonight. That's obviously going to put him inside that top 12. And just as long as he consistently shows up. he has a chance to go into wildcard territory and make it in the playoffs via wildcard.
Right now, what Amoeba, what Vision, what Slow need is they need a caution to come out later on into this race and give them a short stint. They might be able to switch into even the soft tire compound, re-rack the field, and try and get that spot over him. Right now, that's the exact opposite of what Devin wants. Obviously, Devin wants us to run Greenway all the way through. He has a 9-second lead. If he pits, he would probably be pitting the next handful of laps. As long as his pit's not too slow, the other drivers, again, should have to pit, again, unless they're off the hards, which I don't know if anyone at this point is on the hards. But if he can run green flag all the way through, I believe Devin has the best shot of winning this.
All right. Now, AK. I need to run to the restroom.
God damn, you need your pee breaks.
Hey, we can take a break if you really want to. Like me
No,
and
I'm good now. No, I'm good.
All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and we are going to... AK, I'm going to give you the floor. As Rewar and Cart now going to pit road. I'm just going to keep the stream on Devin. Because there's no other really close battles on track at the moment. So, yeah. I will be back and I'll try to be as fast as I can.
Looks good to me. So, while he's gone, why don't we just go ahead and go through, so far, the playoff implications. Like we said, Devin with this win, he will be inside that wild card spot. Like we said, that would be huge for coming into the playoffs. Not many races left, only a handful of races left. So now, if you're on the outside of that spot, if you're on the outside of that cutoff, now you really need a race win. As Devin would be the first driver outside of the playoffs to have a win. Everyone else outside the playoffs, as he comes down to pit road, so he'll be making his stop now. Same with Amoeba, both coming down pit road to top 2. That would make it so that he is the first driver outside of those playoffs to get a race win. This locks him in for a wild card position. He'd be in the top 12 with points, as well as he would have that win. Division now is going to pass for the lead, slow to second. Wacken also going to pass. Now they're going to be the lead. They could be trying to extend or could be on hards. And if they are on hards, this may make it a challenge for Devin. Other notable mashups with this, like we said, Tomato Drifts has now DNF'd. This means now that third place is now open for Rewar, who currently is in the 8th position. But someone who opens the door for even more is Slow, who's currently in 2nd place. Slow tonight may be able to gain a lot more points onto Tomato and get himself into the top 20 of the playoffs, which obviously is much better than the 5th position right now. He's only, like we said at the top of the broadcast, 5 points beyond that cut line. If he's not too far beyond the cut line, so this tonight with a good finish, Tomato being out means he could at least get himself closer to Tomato, if not leapfrog him. Speaking of the cutoff line, like we said with Cart, he is that one driver on the outside tonight. If Devin is able to win, but right now he's in 4th position, presumably with the 3 cars ahead of him still needing to pit, he may be at danger of being out of the playoffs. Right now, Braves, who's behind him, would still hold that final playoff spot, as the difference between those 2 drivers in position set is just 1 point. So, what that means is Cart still, as of right now, is still on the outside looking in. And with Devin having a win, that means Devin would be that fire. If Devin gets a win tonight, that would be Devin would be that final wild card spot. So a lot tonight on the line. Not to say that this is all definitive. Cart still has more than enough time to be able to get a race win here in the next couple weeks before the playoffs. But as of right now, if Devin is able to get that win, he would be the favorite to get that final wildcard spot. Right now, Vision has a comfortable lead at 1.7 seconds. As Flags comes in for his pit stop. Devin does have pressure tires to these guys. I don't know, again, we can't figure out what kind of tire compound they are on, unfortunately. Because God, I wish I knew. But if I had to guess, because these guys were on the hard tire compound, it wouldn't shock me if they stuck to that hard tire compound to be only a one pit day for them. If that is the case, then Vision has a good lead. We've seen them be able to extend it to half of the race. Reckon when they did do that, their tires were a lot slower than what Devin's was. And they did lose 8 seconds to Devin. So, in fact, they actually lost more to Devin. They lost 8 seconds to Vision, who pitted 1 lap sooner than Slow and Blacken. However, it is going to be, if we could see the exact same finish as we did at Indianapolis last week, where it was a 1 lap difference, hell, half a lap difference between Tomato winning and second place winning. We could see another thing similar to that, and with Daytona being as big as it is, it may be the reverse script of last week, where second place is able to catch up to first place and pass them to win the race. It'd be very interesting to see, with 6 laps to go, how big the tire fall off will be for Vision, Slow, Black. Devin has been able to catch up a little bit to Blacken, about a second, give or take. So it is going to be close. He'll be able to at least pass Blacken before the end of the race. He is gaining a fair bit of time on him. It's about a 7-second gap between Devin and Blacken, and about a 13-second gap between Devin and Vision. Devin slowly but surely is chipping away at that top position. That second, he is already getting a lot of time. Welcome back. That time by, Devin was able to gain about a 1.5 seconds towards the leader, so that tire fall off is starting to happen already. With 5 laps to go, it could be very close.
Now, what is the rundown here of what happened, Sir Commentator?
Yes, just what we've been watching. Not much has changed. Besides, Devin went to pit. Blacken, Slow, and Vision were able to pass. I do believe they went back to the hard tire compound, those top 3. But like I stated previously, the tire fall off could be huge. We've seen Devin catch about 10 seconds, and he's about 11 seconds out right now. So it's going to be close.
So that could definitely get interesting as we get down here toward the end. EMC Vision being the one to take over the lead there. That kind of big for him. As Vision, he entered this race 8th in the standings at 179.
Again, if he's able to get a win here tonight, that would be huge for him, like you said, because I'm just going to pull up the points here just to confirm what I'm thinking. Yeah, he would be the first driver outside of the playoffs to have a race win, which means he would then become the favorite to be able to get that wild card spot over a car.
So now, I believe Vision just crossed the no caution marker for the race. It's typically the final 4 laps of any race are caution-free no matter what. Now, I know for a handful of times we have changed it. But the times that we did change it, it was mainly just because... What is going on with my mouse? Oh, its battery's dying. Okay, hold on. Sorry about that. I was trying to manage something off to the side, and I noticed the mouse was being really delayed, but it's flashing red at me because the battery's dying.
That gap is now almost down to 9 seconds now. And the drop off of these tires is only going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger with 4 laps to go.
It's gonna get good and interesting to see if that gap can close down a lot, because Devin, he's trying to make up the gap to Vision. Because at least I feel with the position that he's in, he's definitely going to catch to probably get a top 3. At least if his tires are actually that much fresh.
Right now, just not to give numbers away, but to give colors away, Devin's all white. The leader's Vision has just turned orange. So it is
Orange,
the drop-off
or
is orange,
right,
as in
but
dark
not
orange, not light yellow.
Oh, dark orange. Oh, boy.
Dark
so that
orange.
means he's going to hit very much moderate wear here soon. And we saw he was losing about probably 6-7 seconds
Yeah.
a lap.
The gap now is just over 8 seconds. So that lap
already
he lost,
he's lost
2
2 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's gonna keep increasing, so it's gonna become very, very close.
Yeah,
here.
that's going to get
They've
really
already,
close
just
towards the
in
end of the race.
section number 1, they've already lost 1 second. So currently, they just left section number 1. Devin is now just leaving section number 1. It is going to get becoming very close very quickly.
Devin's now right on the charge, though. He needs to get around 2 other people before he can get up to Vision. Right now, he's on the back bumper of Blackened, so he's probably going to get the pass done here going into the chicane, or at least exiting the chicane. But still, him battling with all of these guys, that is going to create different situations as if he just needed to catch just him in general, just Vision in general.
So Devin has just entered turn number 3. The leaders are just exiting turn number 3. That's the difference right now. He is now just over 6.5 seconds.
So once again, another 2 seconds gained, but him needing to get around the cars who are on not as good tires as him. That also creates a little bit of a difference and could make the difference between Vision getting the win and not. But meanwhile, hold on, it's Slow making up a big gap on Vision, and he's going to get around him in turn 2. So now it's a battle for the lead.
That's about for the lead. Let's see if Devin can throw his hat in. This is the section where he's gaining a lot of time. He's right down to 5 seconds. He's going to be able to get down probably to
Vision's
4.
losing a lot of time.
Yeah, I think Vision's tires are smoked. I'll check on Slow's. Slow's about in the same places as Vision. He does have 2 tires that are yellow, not orange, but 2 of his are orange now.
So it looks like Slow had the tiniest bit of better tires. Will that allow Slow now to actually try to steal one away here? Because now Vision out of the picture.
Yeah,
And
Devin's 4 seconds behind. So he has time. If he can continue at the pace he's at, he should pass Slow.
There, you see the difference there when they're in the chicane. You saw Devin approaching in the background. Right now, here on the map, Slow is the highlighted car, the white dot. Now I'm going to go to Devin, who's now the yellow highlighted dot. It is only a difference of a couple seconds, which he's gaining every single lap. Vision going to pit road. That might cost him a lot more positions than going down to fourth. 2 laps to go.
A lot of time.
But
Devin,
now,
3 seconds back.
But now this means for Devin, there's no car in between him and slow now that he needs to get around.
Yeah, 3 seconds and falling. 2.75, 2.63. It's dropping. It's quick. It's going to come down to that final lap. It's going to be almost a repeat of Indianapolis, but it might be roles reversed. Second place might be able to catch just in time. Now 2 seconds flat.
1.9, 1.8, 1.7. That gap is closing very quickly, and there Devin has him in his sights. Slow sees him in his rearview mirror. He might get the pass done this lap at this rate.
Now 1 second flat. It's going to be close. Slow will need to have absolutely perfect lines throughout the rest of the race to be able to keep him at bay. Reminder, Devin still needs to pass him. This is not a great track for passing. Now half a second. Now he's pretty much to his bumper.
Yep, there we go. The chicane. That's going to give him a lot of time, and he's going to have a draft in the run. Devin approaching on slow through Speedway 3 and 4. Coming to the white flag.
Devin's going to look outside. He wants to get the clean pass. He wants to get the arc into turn 1. A little bit of contact. Now side by side as the end of their trial.
No way he's going to be able to hold
flag.
off here.
He's going
into turn 1. Devin hard into the brakes, and he's able to get that done.
Slow really loose. That tire's now running. Now we look back to Blacken. What is Blacken's tires? Is Blacken going to be able to get ahead of Slow? Blacken's still in striking range of Slow, especially if he can get him into the chicane on the back straight.
It's about, I'm going to say roughly a second.
Yep, it is about a second. 1:19. Now under a second.
Blacken, he's probably going to get to slow here.
He definitely will. If he doesn't make the pass now, he'll probably get it in the chicane.
He's going for it now. Roughly half a lap to go now.
Again, this is what we emphasized at the top of the broadcast. Is pit strategy is going to be so huge here. We've seen the 2 different strategies, and we've seen which one pays off. Slow. Use the one-stop strategy using hard tires. They just didn't quite make it to the end. 1 lap off. Well, I guess about a lap and a half off. Devin used the 2-stop strategy with presumably mediums, and he's now able to get the win coming out of 4.
Off of Speedway turn 4, Devin with a near perfect day is going to score the win here at the Daytona Road Course.
Black in second. Slow was about to get third. Was so close to being able to get a win here tonight, but unfortunately just not in the cards. Same with Amoeba, who's going to get 4th here tonight. Was in first for the later portions of this race, but his tires just weren't there with him.
What a drive from Devin here today.
Yeah, just really a good drive from him all night. Had the right pit strategy. Had the right pit strategy as well. I mean, just absolutely a dominant night for Devin. It was close near the end, but again, the pit strategy just helped him prevail that little bit more that he needed near the end.
And right there, you see your top 3. NWR Slow, JSR Blackened, and VER Devin. Able to get it done tonight. Do I like this tune? Forza, I didn't race. Why are you asking me? the guy? All right. I say, let's go ahead. Let's try to get post-race underway here. There we go. The three of them are in here now. Go ahead, guys. Make sure you include your audio. Should be in a little checkbox in the party. And then when you guys are able to, we're going to go ahead and do a mic check.
I'm all good.
Yes, sir.
And Blackened, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. All right, so now everyone's in here. I double-checked your guys' mics. Should be all good to go. AK, you are going to go ahead, take it away with NWR Slow, and then JSR Blackened.
Slow also close tonight, just about a lap and a half away from being able to get the win here tonight. Obviously, we've seen you and a couple other drivers try and extend those hards as long as you could go. Was that planned by all of you combined, or was that kind of a separate, all culminating kind of strategy here tonight?
I had no strategy. I hadn't driven the car at all until qualifying, so I didn't know how long the tires lasted. I kind of just followed Blacken because I had gained on him a little bit, and I just wanted to sort of mirror his pits because I wasn't sure exactly what I was gonna do. But yeah, we extended the medium. I was on mediums for both of mine. I messed up. I put mediums on the second stint. I couldn't make it to the end, but just kind of learned from other people, honestly.
Okay. So we seen you falling black, and we knew black was on hard. So, obviously, like we said, oh so close here tonight. If the race was just like 2 laps shorter, the win is yours. But I mean, obviously, it's still a great finish here tonight. Still top 3 will help you a lot in the point standings. How do you tackle a track like this, where it's kind of an oval, but also a lot of a road course? So how do you tackle that kind of in between?
Generally, it's usually just getting good corner exits, always lining up entry to get a good corner exit because you lose so much time. You slide or have a bad exit on any of these corners, especially on the bus stop. I was not very good at the bus stop, so I lost overall throughout the race. I definitely lost a lot of time to the other two in here. But I mean, you can just drive it like normal. Oval part, pretty easy. Just got to make sure you hit your corners in the circuit part.
So far throughout the season, we've seen a lot of green flag runs for the entirety of races. When it comes to those types of races where it's green throughout the entire, if not majority of the race, how do you prepare and how do you prep yourself for the in case that happens?
What, in case a yellow comes out or just straight green?
Straight greens.
Well, I mean, I think usually after the first couple laps, you can tell if a race is going to have cautions or not. It's because this one's spread out pretty fast. At that point, you just have to figure out how you can either manage tire if you're trying to go a little bit further than what others might consider, or just get a straight plan of I'm going to pit now. No matter what happens, I'm going to pit on these specific laps and take these tires, just run my own race and see how it works.
Well, congratulations on the top 3 tonight. Obviously, a great run for yourself, and good luck heading to the next race as well as the playoffs.
Appreciate it. Getting that win early kind of helps because I missed the race and had a bad 2 races. This helps.
So now we will move on with second place, that being obviously JSR Blackened. Was able to catch up to slow near the closing laps, just too far to be able to get towards Devin near the end. However, second place, obviously nothing to snuff at. Still a very good finish for yourself. So again, I'll ask you, how do you tackle a track like this?
Full tilt.
Full tilt's definitely a solid answer. We did see all of you top 3 kind of challenging those corners, taking them as fast as you can, seeing how far you can take it before you actually have to brake. So, again, I'll kind of ask you to confirm, were you running hards for the entire race? Or did you go hard medium?
I went mediums to start the race. Then I kind of figured if I pit at lap 18, I can make it on fuel for the rest of the race without having to stop again. And I also had in consideration that those first 18 laps, mediums fell off really hard, but it was really 16 laps of racing because we had a couple pace laps, one for a caution lap and the other for the start of the race pace lap. So I'm thinking if I put on hards, I might be able to gain some time on the back end of the run, which I did on slow here. No pun intended. But I think for being on hards, the pace was pretty decent. Now, I made a couple mistakes, went deep into a few corners, and kind of the big mistake, I probably lost like 2.5 seconds, was I almost wrecked in the bus stop. Just got on the curb the wrong way, and it lost a bunch of time. I think if I would have drove a little bit cleaner, it would have been a lot closer between me and Devin there.
Yeah, obviously, we're like I stated before, you were able to catch up to slow just on the last lap there. But obviously, near the end, a very close race. All top 3 were about at one point on the last lap within 2 seconds of each other. So obviously, a very close competitive race near the end. Obviously, 2 different strategies between yourself and Devin. Devin's just able so slightly able to notch out the win compared to yours. But again, how do you kind of prepare for a race like this? What goes into the prep for it?
Sorry, say that again. Oh, wait, see you.
No, he didn't know.
Blacken, you're next.
No, you're good.
You're
Sorry.
next. You're good, Devin.
So you're asking me how I prepare for a race like this?
Yeah.
Usually most of the time I don't. I didn't really have a lot of time today specifically to kind of prep for this race like I normally would. So I just kind of came into it winging it.
Well, winging it seemed to work for the most part. A top 3, top 2. Obviously, nothing to snuff at. A very good finish for yourself tonight. So, again, good luck coming into next week's race, and good luck heading into the playoffs.
Thank you.
And to you with the winner of tonight, Devin.
All right, here we're going to have Devin, your race winner today, VAR Devin, really formerly Frodo FM. So, by the way, do you care if I call you Devin or Frodo, or?
Either or, I don't care.
All right. So we're going to go ahead. We're just going to stick with Devin for the sake of broadcast.
Cool, yeah.
Ran practically a near perfect race for you today. You avoided some calamity there at the very start of the race. We had some pacing and a little bit of cars going off track in turn one. We were expecting that. But here, you pull off good pit strategy. You're able to get ahead. Did you know at any point in the race, like, oh, you have this in the bag? Or were you still trying to get antsy and wasn't quite sure if you were able to squeeze out a win until that very last couple laps there?
Around lap 12, I got damage on the engine because I double shifted, so I had to pit early, and I'm like, well, now I have to commit to a double stop. So, and I thought because they both lasted way out on the mediums, they were just going to single stop it, and they were going to end up, say, 10 seconds ahead of me. But then I realized Blacken mentioned about halfway through the run that we also had about 2 or 3 laps worth of yellow, so we were conserving those tires at the time. So the mediums they did last, but they were shot about 3 or 4 laps ago. So, and kind of realizing that, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to commit to the medium, soft. But because I had the engine damage, I had to run out my second stint on mediums a little bit long, so that kind of hurt. But the final stint on the softs is when I kind of realized if I keep my pace that I was at, I had a good shot at it, and then eventually it worked. So.
And good drive for you on that. You entered into this race 13th in the standings, sitting at around 94 points. Now, with you getting the win tonight, that's obviously going to propel you inside that top 12. Now we could be looking into wild card driver position for you for that playoffs. So if you're able to really just remain consistent, you could get locked into that spot. So what is kind of the playoff picture going to look like, especially considering the next couple races here is going to be Sunset, Homestead Road Course, and Indianapolis? How does it look for you now that you have the win locked in? So now you can be pursuing the wild card spot for the playoffs.
It's definitely like a nice touch, little pat on the back. Playoffs would definitely be a nice thing. Not the most keen on racing for the full championship, but it's definitely a very nice touch, especially. So, ego booster for sure is the main thing about it. Yeah, the ego boost. Yeah, I mean, ran well and hope to continue with it. So.
All right. And then do you still have that intention of being here when you can and trying to pursue a championship, or is you have other focuses elsewhere?
It's kind of like a half and half between it. It's just show up when able, and then if I'm able to run for a championship on top of that, that's just all the better. So.
All right. Well, great drive tonight, and we didn't even notice that you had gathered that damage. So good on you being able to recover. You had the right strategy down to the end, and really just a great race all around. So good luck to you every race moving forward, and congrats on the win tonight.
I appreciate it.
All right. So now that pivots us back to AK. Tonight was a race that we kind of saw a little bit of what we were expecting, but also a little bit of what we weren't expecting. We weren't sure if we were going to see a caution fest or if we were going to see a mostly green race, and we definitely did saw a mostly green race. What are your thoughts on people managing their tires tonight and having good strategy? And obviously, we saw what strategies prevailed in the end and those who didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a prime example for showing that strategies do matter in this game. Unlike in FM7 where, maybe that didn't matter too much. Now that we have different tire compounds, you can adjust how much fluid you want, and not every pit stop is exactly the same. It just shows how much the change has happened and how much more drivers need to kind of prepare themselves to be able to pivot from one strategy to another. Obviously, like Devin said, it wasn't his intention to go down pit lane as early as he did, but then realized, hey, I've actually got a good strategy here. I'm going to continue with it. That's what he did, and that's how he was able, in the last 2 laps, to be able to get that win. So it just goes to show how important these strategies are. And I mean, like we said at the top of the broadcast, I said it's either going to look a lot like Indianapolis, or it's going to be the reverse of Indianapolis, where one caution bred more. It happened to be the first option being exactly like Indianapolis, minus the end where roles were reversed. I'm saying that 10 times that fast, but but it was so similar, and obviously it was a great race to watch right down to the end. We had 3 cars. We didn't quite know if Slow was going to be able to knock out Devin until like the last lap and a half. Wacken might have been able to have a shot at it there near the end. So it was a really fun race here tonight.
A little bit of a fun and interesting race. Maybe not as close as some drivers would have liked it to be, but definitely for the first half of that race, we saw good, close racing, everyone battling side by side, being able to take care of those passing opportunities, taking advantage of other drivers making mistakes. We saw there for the most part how much one mistake can lead to all of a sudden you go from battling side by side for second place to now you're back in 6th trying to rally your way back forward. So definitely an opportune, keen track. Now going into the next 3 races, let's show that actually quick here at the end of the stream here. Next 3 races, next week we go into Sunset Peninsula. The reason why I said at the top of the broadcast that will be the most interesting race of the season is because the Cup cars, we haven't ran the Cup cars there yet. We did run at Sunset Peninsula last season, but that was one of the last races that we ran in the Bob Sharp Nissan before we made the switch over to the next gens after the next gen update. So that will be interesting to see what sort of racing we're going to see. There will be similar styles to Daytona, but entering turn 1 and the exit of turn 4, very, very tight. That wall in turn 4 is going to eat you up really quickly if you're not careful getting around it. Homestead Road Course, that's going to be interesting as well because some drivers have not ran that specific variation here in XRS. We used to run back on FM7 the old configuration that included speedways turn 3 and 4. Now, it's not going to include that. There's going to be that little dig that cuts through that area, and the entry, really fast. The exit, really tight and slow. So, you're going to see contradicting areas. You have to drive those areas completely different from one another. So that will definitely be interesting. Before we return to the Brickyard Race 10 Indianapolis to wrap up the regular season, and we already got a preview of what we could be seeing, everyone getting on different tire strategies, but this time it's going to be a little bit different. Now there's actually going to be some people's seasons on the line. Points might be closer or they might be a little further apart, but you never quite know until we get there. The intensity will definitely be ramped up for that race, and we can't wait there to get there when we get there. So that, I believe, is going to wrap up tonight's broadcast here at the Daytona Road Course, if I can speak. And that also brings us roughly halfway through this season. We'll be past halfway next week, race 8. So we'll definitely be at the halfway mark. And so far, this is looking to be an interesting season with everyone jumbled around in the points. So we'll definitely continue that into next week at sunset. But for now,